The entire galaxy watched in anticipation as humanity stepped onto the greatest stage in existence. For centuries, the Galactic Alliance had maintained peace through a tradition known as the bonding ceremony. Whenever a new civilization earned its place among the stars, it was invited to form a symbolic union with one of the Alliance's noble families. The marriages created trust, alliances, and stability between worlds. Most species treated the ceremony like a political game. Humanity's turn had finally arrived. Billions tuned in from every corner of known space. The grand arena floated above the capital world like a shining jewel. Thousands of banners waved beneath crystal domes. Royal families, military leaders, and wealthy dynasties presented their daughters before the cameras. There were elegant princesses from ancient empires, brilliant scholars from advanced worlds, daughters of powerful admirals, celebrities admired across entire star systems. Every candidate had spent years preparing for this moment. And at the center of it all stood humanity's representative, Ethan Hayes. Young, calm, unknown. The galaxy expected him to choose power, influence, status. Instead, his attention drifted somewhere nobody else was looking. At the far edge of the hall stood a woman dressed in dark armor. No family surrounded her. No supporters stood beside her. The crowd kept its distance, as if an invisible wall separated her from everyone else. Her name was Zara Vex. The moment Ethan asked who she was, the atmosphere changed. Conversation stopped. Smiles disappeared. Even the musicians fell silent. One Alliance official immediately leaned toward him. Choose anyone else. A military commander shook his head. She's not a bride. She's a living disaster. The warnings continued. Zara Vex had ended rebellions, destroyed pirate empires, survived battles that wiped out entire fleets. Stories about her filled military academies across the galaxy. Some claimed she once fought for 3 days without rest. Others whispered that she had personally killed enough enemies to populate a small planet. No one knew how many stories were true. What everyone agreed on was simple. People feared her. Ethan looked at Zara again. The warrior wasn't speaking, wasn't threatening anyone, wasn't even paying attention to the ceremony. She simply stood alone. For a brief moment, their eyes met, and Ethan noticed something nobody else seemed to see. Behind the fearsome reputation, behind the armor, behind the legends, she looked tired, not like a monster, like someone who had spent years carrying burdens no one else understood. Then came the moment of choice. The arena lights focused on Ethan. Billions waited. Names of princesses appeared across massive displays. The galaxy held its breath. Ethan raised his hand and pointed across the hall. I choose Zara Vex. For 1 second, absolute silence consumed the arena. Then chaos erupted. Gasps echoed everywhere. Leaders jumped to their feet. Reporters shouted over one another. Several security officers immediately reached for their weapons. Even Zara looked stunned. The deadliest woman in the galaxy stared at Ethan as if he had spoken an impossible language. For the first time in years, she seemed completely speechless. But while the galaxy argued and panicked, hidden figures watched from the shadows. One of them quietly activated a secure transmitter. A distorted voice answered. The figure smiled. The human made his choice. A pause followed. Then a response came. Target confirmed. Another pause. Eliminate the human and the warrior. TOB continued. The galaxy exploded with controversy after Ethan Hayes chose Zara Vex. Within hours, every major news network was discussing nothing else. Some hosts called Ethan reckless. Others claimed humanity had made a terrible mistake. Political commentators questioned his judgment. Military experts predicted disaster. Social media across thousands of worlds flooded with jokes, theories, and warnings. Why would a human choose the most feared woman in the galaxy? That single question echoed everywhere. Many people believed Zara had somehow manipulated him. Others thought Ethan was seeking fame. No one believed the truth. Ethan simply wanted to understand her. While the galaxy argued, Ethan spent time with Zara away from the cameras. To everyone's surprise, the terrifying warrior from the stories was nothing like the monster people imagined. She was quiet, reserved, careful with her words. The first few conversations were awkward. Zara seemed confused whenever Ethan treated her like an ordinary person. She expected fear. She expected suspicion. Instead, Ethan asked about her favorite foods, her childhood, the places she had visited, the things she wanted to do when she wasn't fighting wars. At first, she refused to answer. Then little by little, the walls around her began to crack. Ethan learned the truth behind the legend. Years ago, Zara's homeworld had been invaded by a powerful enemy coalition. Cities burned. Entire regions vanished. Her family died during the first months of the war. The government collapsed soon afterward. With nobody left to protect her people, Zara joined the military. What started as survival became sacrifice. She fought because someone had to. She won because losing meant extinction. Each victory saved millions of lives. Yet every victory also created new fears. Enemies called her a monster. Allies called her a weapon. Over time, the galaxy forgot there was a person behind the battlefield reports. For years, nobody asked how she felt. Nobody asked what she had lost. Nobody cared. Until Ethan. For the first time in a very long time, Zara found herself laughing. Not during a celebration. Not after a victory. Just during a simple conversation. And for the first time, she began imagining a future that didn't involve war. But someone else was watching. Someone who didn't want that future to exist. A week later, Ethan attended a diplomatic gathering inside the Alliance capital. Representatives from dozens of worlds filled the massive chamber. The event was peaceful until a servant suddenly pulled a concealed plasma blade. The assassin charged directly toward Ethan. Everything happened in less than a second. Security officers barely had time to react. Then Zara moved. Witnesses later struggled to describe what they saw. One moment she stood beside Ethan. The next, the assassin was disarmed and pinned to the floor before anyone could blink. The entire chamber erupted in shock. Ethan survived. The attacker was captured. It should have been the end of the story. Instead, it was only the beginning. Hours later, investigators uncovered encrypted communications allegedly linking Zara to the assassination attempt. The evidence looked undeniable. News networks immediately turned against her. Politicians demanded action. Citizens called for punishment. Within a single day, Zara transformed from hero to suspect. Then the Galactic Alliance issued an emergency arrest warrant. But while examining the investigation files, Ethan discovered something impossible. The evidence had been fabricated. Someone powerful had planted it, and whoever was behind the conspiracy had access to the highest levels of government. Cliffhanger. As Alliance security forces move to arrest Zara, Ethan uncovers a hidden symbol buried inside the fake evidence. A symbol connected to a secret organization that officially doesn't exist. Hashtag part 3. The Hunt Across the Stars. Ethan Hayes had a choice. Trust the Galactic Alliance and abandon Zara. Or trust the woman everyone feared. He chose Zara. Hours before Alliance security forces could arrest her, Ethan secretly helped her escape the capital world. Together they stole a small transport vessel and vanished into the outer sectors of known space. By sunrise, they were the most wanted fugitives in the galaxy. Every major network displayed their faces. Every port received their identification codes. Huge rewards were offered for information leading to their capture. The Alliance claimed they were dangerous. The truth was far more terrifying. As they traveled through lawless star systems and forgotten colonies, Ethan continued investigating the fake evidence used against Zara. What he discovered changed everything. Hidden deep inside encrypted government archives was a name that appeared again and again. The Dominion Circle. Officially, no such organization existed. Unofficially, it was everywhere. The deeper Ethan dug, the darker the truth became. For nearly a century, the Dominion Circle had operated from the shadows. Its members were not soldiers or politicians. They were billionaires, corporate dynasties, banking families, and powerful industrial leaders who secretly controlled entire governments. Wars made them rich. Economic crises increased their power. Political instability allowed them to manipulate entire civilizations. Peace was bad for business. Conflict was profitable. And years ago, Zara unknowingly became their biggest problem. Every war she ended reduced their influence. Every pirate empire she destroyed cut off their hidden income. Every world she saved weakened their control. So they launched a different kind of attack. They couldn't defeat Zara in battle. They defeated her reputation. Rumors appeared. False reports spread. Assassination attempts were blamed on her. Entire media campaigns painted her as a monster. For years, the galaxy had been carefully conditioned to fear her. Now Ethan understood why. And because he had uncovered the truth, the Dominion Circle marked him for elimination. Soon, hunters appeared everywhere. Private mercenaries, elite assassins, corporate security fleets. Entire warships entered the search. Yet something unexpected began happening. Ordinary people started helping them. A cargo captain secretly hid their ship. A mechanic repaired their engines without asking for payment. A colony governor erased their travel records. Word was spreading. Not the lies, the truth. People were finally hearing stories about Zara's sacrifices, about the world she saved, about the family she lost, about the years she spent protecting strangers who never thanked her. Slowly, the galaxy began changing sides. The monster from the headlines was becoming a hero, and that terrified the Dominion Circle, because their greatest weapon had always been fear. Now fear was losing. While moving through a remote data vault hidden inside an abandoned asteroid station, Ethan uncovered the organization's most protected secret. The Dominion Circle wasn't merely influencing governments. It was controlling them. Names filled the screen. Alliance Sénator, military commanders, intelligence directors, even members of the Galactic High Council. The conspiracy reached higher than Ethan had ever imagined. For a moment, the room fell silent. Then Zara looked at the final name on the list, a name that made even her face go pale. Someone at the very top of the Galactic Alliance was leading the entire operation. And if that person learned what Ethan had discovered, the galaxy itself could be thrown into war. ###cliffhanger. As alarms suddenly echoed through the station, hundreds of Dominion warships emerged from hyperspace outside. Someone had betrayed their location, and there was nowhere left to run. Part 4. The war nobody saw coming. The truth finally escaped into the light. What Ethan discovered inside the Dominion Circle's secret archives spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Millions watched the leaked files, then millions more. The reaction was immediate. Governments denied everything. Citizens demanded answers. Protests erupted on hundreds of worlds. Military commanders began questioning orders from their own leaders. For the first time in generations, people realized that many of the wars, economic crises, and political conflicts they had suffered were not accidents. Someone had been pulling the strings. Someone had been profiting from their pain. The galaxy was furious, and the Dominion Circle was terrified. Exposure meant the end of everything they had built. So they made one final move. If they could not control the truth, they would bury it beneath chaos. Within days, hidden fleets emerged from secret shipyards scattered across unexplored space. Entire colonies were attacked without warning. Trade routes were destroyed. Communication networks vanished. Billions watched in horror as worlds burned. Then the Dominion Circle released fabricated evidence blaming every attack on Zara Vex. Suddenly, old fears returned. News channels repeated the accusations nonstop. Politicians demanded military action. Some systems called for Zara's execution. Others demanded war. The galaxy stood one mistake away from complete civil war. Exactly as the Dominion Circle intended. But this time, Zara was not alone. Across the stars, people who had learned the truth began standing beside her. Captains she had once rescued arrived with their fleets. Former rivals volunteered to fight. Entire worlds opened their ports to Ethan and Zara's growing alliance. Humans, aliens, merchants, soldiers, and civilians united behind a single goal. Expose the conspiracy. Stop the war. Save the galaxy. As the Dominion fleets advanced toward the Alliance capital, the largest coalition in galactic history assembled to meet them. Thousands of ships filled the darkness between the stars. Species that had hated one another for centuries now fought side by side. History was being rewritten. At the center of the defense stood Zara, the woman once feared by the entire galaxy. Now millions looked to her for hope. The battle that followed shook entire star systems. Warships exploded across the void. Fighters swarmed through fields of debris. Massive cruisers exchanged fire powerful enough to crack moons. While Zara commanded the defense, Ethan launched a galaxy-wide broadcast. Every hidden document, every secret recording, every piece of evidence. He released it all. Citizens everywhere finally saw the truth with their own eyes. The Dominion Circle's lies began collapsing. Their supporters abandoned them. Their control started breaking apart. For a brief moment, victory seemed possible. Then the enemy revealed its final weapon. A colossal flagship emerged from hyperspace above the capital world, larger than any vessel ever built. At its center was a planet-killer superweapon capable of erasing billions of lives in a single blast. Alarms echoed across every fleet. The weapon began charging. There wasn't enough time to destroy it from the outside. Someone had to stop it from within. Before anyone could argue, Zara made her decision. She boarded a strike craft and accelerated toward the enemy flagship alone. Ethan watched helplessly as her ship vanished into the darkness. Moments later, the superweapon reached full power, and Zara disappeared deep inside the enemy vessel. #cliffhanger. As the countdown reached its final seconds, all communication with Zara suddenly went silent, and the planet killer weapon began its firing sequence. Part 5, HFY payoff, the woman the galaxy feared. The entire galaxy watched in horror. Above the Alliance capital, the massive Dominion flagship hung like a dark moon. Its planet-killer weapon glowed brighter with every passing second. Billions were in danger. Evacuation alarms echoed across cities. Families rushed towards shelters. Military commanders prepared for the worst. And then communication with Zara Vex vanished. No signals, no updates, nothing. For the first time since the battle began, fear spread through the Allied fleets. The woman who had carried entire wars on her shoulders was gone. Most believed she was dead. Ethan refused to accept it. While admirals ordered a retreat, he made a different choice. He stole a strike shuttle, ignoring every warning, every command, and every chance to escape. He accelerated directly toward the enemy flagship. Many call the mission suicide. Humans called it loyalty. The small shuttle slipped through burning wreckage and enemy fire. Against impossible odds, Ethan reached the giant vessel and forced his way inside. The scene he discovered shocked him. Deep within the flagship, Zara was still fighting. Alone, surrounded by elite Dominion soldiers. Outnumbered, exhausted, wounded, yet she refused to fall. Every corridor behind her was filled with destroyed combat drones and shattered armor. She had fought her way almost to the reactor core by herself. When Zara saw Ethan, disbelief flashed across her face. "You came back." Ethan smiled despite the danger. "I never left." Together, they pushed deeper into the ship. For the first time, they fought side by side. Not as a diplomat and a warrior. Not as symbols. As partners. As friends. As people who trusted each other completely. The reactor chamber stood at the heart of the vessel. The superweapon was seconds from firing. Warning lights flashed across the room. The countdown continued. 10, 9, 8. Enemy reinforcements poured into the chamber. 7, 6, 5. Zara held them back while Ethan reached the control systems. 4, 3. The reactor began destabilizing. 2, 1. At the final moment, they triggered an overload. A wave of energy erupted through the flagship. The planet-killer weapon died. The Dominion flagship exploded, and the capital world was saved. The war ended that day. Without their hidden leaders, the Dominion circle collapsed. Its members were arrested across dozens of systems. Their secret files became public, exposing decades of corruption and manipulation. Months later, worlds once divided by fear began rebuilding together. For the first time in generations, peace felt real. And Zara Vex was no longer known as the galaxy's deadliest woman. She became known as the woman who saved it. At a historic ceremony attended by countless species, Ethan and Zara stood before a crowd of billions. A reporter asked the question everyone had wondered since the bonding ceremony. Why did you choose her when everyone else chose princesses? The audience fell silent. Ethan looked toward Zara and smiled. Then he answered, because everyone saw a weapon. He paused. I saw a person. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then the entire hall rose to its feet. Applause thundered across the chamber. And standing beside Ethan, Zara experienced something she had never found through victory, power, or fear. Not fame, not respect, not admiration, belonging. For the first time in her life, she wasn't fighting to prove her worth. She already knew she had won. HFY ending. Humanity's greatest strength was never its fleets, weapons, or technology. It was the ability to look beyond fear, beyond reputation, and beyond appearances to find the person everyone else had forgotten. And that simple act changed the galaxy forever.